The Suma experience is of people starting a business from absolutely nothing and building it up. It's taken a while to get to where we are now, but you've got to remember it started from nothing, and it's had no public money, and it's had very little support from anybody else except other working cooperatives. So that, and it's built on democratic management. So when people go, well, you can either be a good business or you can be democratic, we say, absolutely not. You put the two together, you get something really powerful. That's our shed. It's in Yorkshire. From there, we distribute health foods and whole foods. We're in a specialist part of the food market. So it's not a special business, it's food distribution, it's warehousing and distribution and product development in a specialist part of the food market. So we know what we're doing, we're not competing with the big supermarkets. And it's based on our interests, because we're very, very interested in this part of the food market, and we want to promote vegetarian foods and organic foods and fair trade foods. So the message there is do something that you're really interested in. So we started in 1977 as a co-op in Leeds, just in a back room in a house in Leeds, and we've now got £30 million turnover. It's taken us that long to get there. Some people will go, is that all you've got after 35 years? And we go, well, it's organic growth, it's gradual growth over the time, not buying other businesses, acquisition and all that daft stuff that people get into and then the whole thing crashes because it's all debt laden. It's our business, we didn't want to risk it, so it's gradual growth over the years. We've now got 130 worker members, so all the decisions are based on a democracy of 130 worker members. And we've had unbroken growth and profits throughout our entire existence. Just 1 year we broke even, and then all the rest of the time we've been making money and paying extremely good wages. Our wages are much higher than the market average for warehousing. Plus, job security. I mean, this is amazing in the north of England. Most of the people in our part of Yorkshire, they have vulnerable jobs, temporary jobs, minimum wage, very insecure. So we just stick out like this weird business where people get proper jobs. And we say to people, it's because we own the business, we run it, it's ours, we do what we want with it. And we make sure we're treated right. This last year, we've just declared another profit so that we can have our 13th month salary. So we try and do the European thing where you pay yourself for 13 months rather than 12 as a bonus if you make enough money. I've been through 4 recessions in Suma. Every time, it's hold on to your seats, here we go, the roller coaster ride is starting. And every single time we've come through it okay, because everybody in the business is working that little bit harder to keep the success going. And in this last recession, Suma was started in a massive recession in the middle 70s. The reason they started it was because they couldn't get any jobs, because the UK was deindustrialising. All sorts of traditional heavy industries were closing down. And the young people who started Suma, I wasn't quite a founder member, but I was there quite near the beginning. They couldn't get jobs elsewhere, so they started their own business in something they cared about. This last recession, we lost a very big customer, which was £500,000 worth of sales. We were seeing other customers going out of business, and we're thinking, oh dear, this is going to be bad. So members in Suma, they simply used their initiative. The ones who were working in exports started getting more export sales. The ones who were working in the domestic market, they started looking for new customers. None of this was decided by a board of executives and a chief executive or some superhero running the place. People just did it. And the upshot of that was that our domestic sales didn't go down at all. They didn't go up, they didn't go down. And we've got a big increase in export sales. 12% of our turnover is now exports from all over the world. And that was simply by the members being more engaged in the business. So we don't have a managing director and we don't have a chief executive because we found we don't need them. Why pay for them? Our customers are all over the place and we've got thousands of them now. And that's, again, is quite deliberate so we can spread the risk. So if one group of customers starts declining, we can start working with another group. And we export absolutely all over the world. People often complain about red tape and regulations. Well, food regulations in the EU are great because it means the Chinese like food from Europe because they can trust it. You know, if you've got money in China and you want safe, healthy food, well, if it's got an EU label on it, that's trustworthy. And we're finding it very easy to export to China. Principles, we are 100% employee owned and managed. Very important. We own the business and we control it. And we have a reasonably flat hierarchy and democratic management. Something that always happens in worker-owned businesses when they control them is that people want to have variety in their working life. So they want to do more than one job. So they get multi-skilled and they have job variety. When I'm at Suma, I work in personnel, I do brand development, I work in the warehouse, driving a reach truck, do reception sometimes, and they send me out to do things like this. So you get this wonderful variety of experience. And because of that, we have equal wages. So everybody gets the same wage rate because it's all mixed up. Now we're probably the most radical in that sense. Mondragon don't do this. They have wage differentials, but they're agreed wage differentials. And again, if it's your business, you decide. You know, it's not a question of the corporate accountants trying to push the wage bill down as far as they possibly can because wages are a cost. In our business, I mean, we did once have a daft accountant who did our auditing, and he stood up at our AGM and said, "Your problem is your wage bill is too high." That's the point of the business. He wasn't our auditor for much longer. And we also have indivisible reserves, common ownership. And this is something very important eventually in a worker co-op. Because if it's successful, people will try and sell the business. They always do. So you have to have an asset lock to protect the value you've built up in that business. You can have a mixture, like they do in Mondragon, so that workers can build up their own funds within the business, which they get back when they leave. Or like Suma, there's 130 members and we each own £1 worth of the business. Who owns the rest of it? Who knows? It's a silly question, really. We use it. We pass it on to future generations. Why is it successful? Well, because in most businesses you have this thing where the executive directors, the blue arrows are authority and the red arrows are feedback. The executive directors control everything. And so all decisions have to go across the chief executive's desk. And by the time the business gets to any kind of size, they haven't got the brain space to deal with the details. So all they do is they look at the numbers and the finance. But we have what we call network governance. It's something like they do at Mondragon. So you've got the shareholder owners, general meetings of members. We do them 6 times a year, or every member. And then we have an elected management committee, representatives of the members, but it's a non-executive board. So they're just representatives of the members. Then we have team leaders, function coordinators, and officers who are experts who advise. And then workers, but of course these are all the same people. You wear a different hat when you're in a different room. So you have to get used to this idea of being a worker, an owner, and a manager, and a shareholder, all at the same time. The idea we have is that it's management by consent. We don't have no management. Management is really important in worker-owned businesses but you do it in a different way. It's not a question of, I'm your boss, I'm telling you to do it, don't argue. It's a question of, we have agreed to do it this way, and therefore you have to abide by the majority, or this is a great idea and let's talk about it, let's come to a decision on this. We see that management is a function, it's not status. And we always continually try and disempower executive managers. Because you remember I said about successful co-ops being stolen from the workers? It's the executive managers that steal them. It's nearly always the financial experts that take over. And a big study of worker co-ops in Europe found that those that ceased, there were successful businesses that ceased to be worker co-ops, the main cause was that democracy had degraded and they were taken over and demutualised and privatised by their executive managers. We're very aware of that, and we won't let anybody steal our business off us. Our members, they have rights, of course. Members always have rights to vote, etc., but they also have responsibilities, and we balance those rights and responsibilities. Again, people say, worker co-ops, oh, people turn up when they feel like it, they do what they want, and they still expect to be paid. No, that's not the way it's like. Some people sometimes come to Suman and say, you've got no boss. You've got no boss here. And I go, don't make that mistake. There's 130 bosses. You try and skive off here, you'll have 130 people watching you, not just one. Peer review, really important, and peer pressure. So we have these responsibilities of members, which we build into all of our HR processes to ensure that the people who get in and become members know what's expected of them and can do it. And also that there's continual performance management as well, so that our members continually act like members. It's a great job. I mean, you know, we can do what we want. It's our business. We decide. We choose how we manage ourselves. We choose who we work with, who we let in and who we don't. We choose the jobs we want to do, what mix of mental, manual, creative, whatever. We work the way we want, and we work the hours we want. We have a huge number of people who work flexibly and part-time, more than half the business. It's because we want to do it. People say, oh, that's so inefficient. And we go, we want to do it. You know, we make it work. And that's what we can do. And co-ops are amazingly stable. One of the things they say about worker co-ops is they're difficult to start, but they're even harder to kill. And that's, again, European research by CCOP, the European Federation of Worker Co-ops, has shown that in every country, worker co-ops are resisting the crisis, as they call it, better than normal businesses. And some have hardly even noticed it, and I think our experience is a case in point. Okay, there we go, finished. Thank you very much.